G'day there guys, it's Karen again, back at it again with another episode of r/EntitledParents. Now if you love today's episode, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy the content. Posted by user, The Airwoman, titled, Entitled Parent Tries to Enter My Apartment to Measure the Bedroom. So this happened 3 years ago. I was renting a basement apartment that I loved. My landlords were great, aunt and uncle of my childhood friend, and I lived there for 3.5 years. Halfway through, they told me they wanted to sell the place, but probably not that soon, since the husband was working on a commercial ship 9 months at the time. I just asked them to tell me when they decide to sell. Anyway, 13 to 14 months pass, and they decide to start the process. They introduce me to the realtors. Everything gets sorted out. Up to this point, everything is going great. Realtors give me 24-hour notice before they bring buyers. I can stay home during the showings or go about my business. I have no complaints about them or my landlords throughout the entire process. Then one day, I just got back from work and didn't feel like going out again. Realtors came with a family of 5 or 6. It was announced, I just forgot. So I decided to stay. Family consisted of mother, father, adult daughter, and 2 or 3 kids. Can't remember. Father was a piece of work. Now, thing is, I live in a touristy town on the Mediterranean coast. It was summer, people try to pull all sorts of cons here. Entitled Father says, I know you said someone lived here, but we hope to stay a couple of days to get the feel of the apartment. What? This place isn't for rent. OP already lives here. Well, I can't buy something just like that. But okay, obviously we can't stay the night. Sorry, no, you can't. I live here. He moves on, measures things left and right, wondering out loud if the large wardrobe will fit into the bedroom, how he wants to buy an apartment for his daughter because she wants to go to college here. Eventually, they pack up and leave for the beach. I saw them later. Beach was 2 minutes away from the apartment. The next day, there was no scheduled showings, so I decided to do one thing everyone does when they live right next to the beach: take a nap after work. But before my head even hit the pillow, I hear someone coming down the stairs. There were only 2 basement apartments, and my neighbors went away for a week. I get up and go to the door to spy, but before I even made it halfway there, someone rattles the doorknob, and then, 10 seconds later, start knocking. I was really confused and freaked out. I go to the other door, and lo and behold, it's Entitled Father from yesterday. I do not open my door. I say, "Who is it?" "It's me, Entitled Father. We were here yesterday? What do you want?" "I want to measure the space in the bedroom to see if my daughter's wardrobe will fit." "No, you're not getting in." "But I can't buy the place if I don't know. It's for my daughter." "Then call the realtor. They'll have all the measurements on file. I'm not letting you in. I'll buy this place and evict you." "Good luck. I have 3 months left on the lease. You can't do crap about that." My landlords told me that if the place sells before my lease is up, contract will state that I can't be evicted before my lease is up. Plus, I already had a place lined up. Entitled Father starts cussing out and I hear him go away. I called landlords and realtors after that. They were all mortified and worried someone like that just came to my place, tried to let himself in, and threatened to evict me. Entitled Father did not buy the apartment after all because landlords refused to ever deal with him again. Realtors told him it was sold. To this day, I believe their plan was to find a place to crash at for a few days for a free vacation under the pretext of buying the place for their daughter. I still had to improvise webcams around the apartment to keep an eye on it while I was at work for the remainder of my stay there. I spent the entire summer not feeling safe in my own home. I can't believe the cheek of some people. At least the realtors had sense and weren't money-minded. Realtors were amazing, and very respectful of boundaries. Never brought people over the weekend, never came unannounced. To be honest, they weren't worried about selling the place or their commission. Apartment was being sold a little under market value, and it was sold like a week after I moved out. They definitely didn't have to suck it up for the sake of sale. Not only that, if they, the realtor, had been a little less sensible, they could have very well found themselves without a realtor license. I'm glad everything worked out. I actually reached out to them a year ago when I was looking for a long-term rental, and they did everything they could. But renting is a nightmare in that town due to many short tourist rentals and inflated prices on whatever is left. Let me guess, revenge? No, Zadar. Posted by user Zombie Pizza Chef, titled, "No Karen, your brat cannot have our cats." So this just happened today. We're trying to sell my current house, and so we had a showing. Usually, they last only about an hour, but our real estate called us and told us they wanted more time, which we agreed to, thinking they would want to buy it. We come back about 45 minutes later and see our real estate agent, their real estate agent, and a family in the driveway. The following conversation goes as followed. "Dear Lord, this formatting hurts my soul. We've got Mum, our agent, their agent, entitled Mum, quiet dad, and the brat, or spawn of Satan. Other agent says, I'm so sorry, there's a slight problem. What is, how much for your cats? Excuse me? Well, we were looking at your house, and my daughter loves cats, and she saw them and fell in love. So how much? Sorry, they're not for sale. And the brat daughter goes, Mommy, I want them. Look, I'll give you $500 for them both. I'm sorry, but they're not for sale. I hope this doesn't change your opinion about the house. I only want the cats. Well, then I'm sorry I wasted your time. We just walk towards the house at this point, assuming they're done. Entitled Mother says, Agent, talk to them and work it out. Their agent says, look, they're very valuable customers to our business and we really need to make this sale. Will you please consider throwing the cats in as a bonus? They're adjusted to the house and I'm sure the family would take great care of them. Absolutely not. They're our fur babies. Brat runs past my mum and runs into my house. We look at the Entitled Mother astonished. Laughing, Entitled Mother says, well, she won't leave till she gets what she wants. Wow, you're a terrible parent. Excuse me, you're the one who is teaching your kids to be selfish brats. At this point, we run in to find the brat covered in scratches and one very chunky, very fluffed up cat. Mummy, it hurt me, ooh-woo, crying, sad face. We're leaving. You will be hearing from my lawyer for this. Yeah, okay. Entitled Mother scoops up brat and leaves in a huff. Her husband mouths sorry to us and turns and leaves. Sorry the format is god-awful, I'm just super annoyed. That's okay, OP. Thank you for the epic story. Posted by user Blau Amies, titled, My mother thinks she deserves half of my child support bonus payment to spend it for her own pleasures. So I live in Germany, where the government is planning to give everyone who is eligible of child support 300 additional euros over the course of 3 months due to the disadvantages of the corona crisis still going on. I already have my own flat, and I study, so I am still able to receive payment. For some reason though, my money always gets sent to my mother's bank account, and she sends it to me. It has worked out so far, but she usually sends me €10 less than what I'm supposed to receive. I never cared too much because I don't want to tramp about $10, so I gave my mum a call and asked her if she saw the news, and reminded her to send me the money, which would be 100 additionally each month for 3 months altogether. She suddenly said, well, I will take 150 of them. We both deserve it, don't we? I was shocked and asked her what she intends to spend it on. I could finally go on some short trips and buy expensive food, was her response. Just a short note, my mother has been jobless ever since I was born and refused to get a job till this day. She often cries about how I have more money than her, and it's just unfair. So she's literally told me it's perfectly fine to just take half of the money that is supposed to be for me. Edit. Since this blew up, I want to clarify that I have my bank account, so please keep that in mind before posting. Posted by user Snufflebug, titled, Entitled Mum thinks her kid is entitled to our pygmy goats. My parents live in a big rural home, with a big open garden surrounded by forest. There is a single, one-way road along one side. They also own 4 baby pygmy goats, my dad's pride and joy. The goats live in a fenced-off corner of the garden, one side being against the road. Bear in mind, the fence is roughly 6 foot high. Because of where they live, they often get dog walkers and people walking past the garden, and naturally, they love to look at the pygmies. Usually this is no problem at all, as they all respect the property and just look from a distance, until this lady. Pygmies are loud. When they're scared, they scream to the high heavens. So when we heard them bleeding, we went to go check out if they were okay. That's when we found a random child in the pen with them. Our cast are entitled mother, entitled kid, and my father. So this entitled kid is running after the poor goats, trying to grab them and pick them up. And the mother, who is on the other side of the fence, just watches. And Dad says, "Excuse me, how and why is your child on our property? He wanted to pet the goats, so I lifted him over the fence." Entitled kid is now trying to climb back over the fence, which isn't working because it's pretty flimsy. Dad says, "I need you to leave right now. You're trespassing and stressing my pets out." He's not doing anything. He's just playing. There's no sign saying we can't go in. It's obvious this is private property. Leave, now, and never come back. Some people are so selfish. My kid just wanted to pet them. Why are you being so rude to us? Dad then lifts the child back over the fence, and the entitled mother says, "Don't ever touch my child. How dare you? Don't touch my pets. How dare you?" Entitled mother storms off, and now there's a sign on the fence saying, "This is not a petting zoo, no trespassing." Disclaimer, no goats were harmed during the making of this post, smiley face. Posted by user MadHatter555, titled, "Entitled Mother Tries to Strand Me in Nicaragua." This happened in 2007, but another post reminded me. I went on a mission trip sponsored by my former employer to Nicaragua to give eye exams and free glasses to people in need. After 2 weeks, I was exhausted and just wanted to get back to Colorado and take a hot shower and a nap. There was about 30 of us on this trip together. We board the plane and everyone gets seats except me. My boarding pass says 14E, middle seats. I'd prefer aisle or window to that, but I just want to get home. Get to my seat, and there's an infant sitting there. I'm tired, but I'm still polite, and say, "Excuse me, 14E is my seat." I flash my boarding pass to the guy in the window seat, and he shrugs at me and the kid, and goes back to his book. The entitled mother on the aisle, 14D, pulls out her ticket. She says, "14D, this is my seat. Sit somewhere else." I'm not trying to sit in 14D, I'm trying to sit there. Point at her kid and say, "Because that's what my boarding pass says." And I show her the boarding pass again. She says, "Screw you, I paid for this seat. Sit somewhere else." That says 14D, mine says 14E. Did you pay for one seat or two? Do you have another boarding pass for your son? Flight attendant arrives and says, "You need to take your seat, sir." "Ma'am, I can't sit down, there's a kid sitting in my seat. This man is threatening me and needs to be removed from the plane." "What? How did I threaten you?" "Sir, we can't depart until you take your seat. He should have to take the next flight for threatening me." If I remember correctly, there was one flight into Nicaragua and one flight out every 24 hours to and from the US. I pause and look between the flight attendant and the entitled mother, and I say to the flight attendant, "I'm having trouble locating my seat. Can you help me?" And I hand the flight attendant my boarding pass. The flight attendant hands me my boarding pass back and leaves. Meanwhile, the 30 people from the mission trip are trying to come to my aid, namely the lead chaperone, Janet. A brief thing about Janet: imagine an anime character that is sworn to fight for what is good and right and just, but that character is a god-level Karen. Janet's like, "Why are you still standing? What's going on? I'll talk to someone. Who do I need to talk to?" Almost all of our stuff got stolen when we got to the hotel in Nicaragua on the first day of the clinic. It's Book of Mormon, is that you? Passports, clothes, camera, shampoo. I had my passport and my camera on me, but I was one of the few. Janet hulked out at the hotel manager, and everything magically reappeared. I had seen her go nuclear, and I did not want to see it again inside an airplane. I say to Janet, "Hey, it's fine, little bit of confusion, nothing to worry about. I don't know how you can be so rude to me. Just take the next flight." I'm actually worried that Janet might overhear what's actually going on and yeet this lady and her kid off the plane. so I don't respond to her. Flight attendant returns with the head flight attendant, and the head flight attendant says, "Sir, you need to take your seat or we can't depart. I can't find my seat. I need assistance." And I hand over my boarding pass. Head flight attendant says to entitled mother, "Can I see your boarding passes, ma'am?" Entitled mother hands over a single boarding pass, and she says, "And the other one?" "What other one? I paid for this seat. He's rude and needs to take the next flight." Flight attendant and head flight attendant whisper. Flight attendant departs for the front of the plane. I'm pretty sure for security, which, FYI, airport security in Nicaragua is AK-47 toting army personnel. Me to head flight attendant say, "I just want to sit down and go to sleep." HFA just ignores me. Flight attendant returns and says, "Come with me, sir." Entitled mother says, "Enjoy your layover in Nicaragua, a-hole." I'm not taking the next flight. We moved an elderly woman into first class. You can have her seat. It's the first row after first class. I sit down in my seat with a bit more legroom and pass out. Don't open my eyes until we land in the States. And everyone lived happy ever after. While it was a good outcome for you and the elderly lady, I just wish someone would have stood up to the mother of the child instead of letting her get her way. It sounds like she's pulled this more than once, and too many have already caved to her behavior, thus reinforcing it. That being said, extra legroom and not having to sit next to a baby on an intercontinental flight, also a win-win. Posted by user Tillich360, titled, "In-law evicted us illegally." Backstory. My wife and I have been together for over 10 years. We have 2 children together. One is autistic and the other one is like me, with ADHD, ODD, OCD, and anxiety. In 2017, I was in a really bad car crash with my 2012 Chevy Volt, when it completely powered down, leaving me without control and sending me off the highway into a tree at 60 miles an hour. I did my best to stay on my feet and keep working, but over time, my back got worse and worse until October of 2018, when I got to work, I was physically unable to get out of my car. I went to one doctor after another, trying to figure out what we could do, and we tried everything. I was eventually diagnosed with thoracic degenerative disc disease, that and another weird bone issue that can't be fixed. I was out of work for 2.5 years, but my wife, being the saint that she is, kept us afloat as best we could. She's an office worker that works with attorneys and taxes, making an okay income, and I worked door-to-door sales for a national cable company, and I was making over $100,000 a year. Needless to say, getting knocked out of work killed our budget, and we needed to move to be closer to family. As we were searching, my wife's mother offered to buy a house and do a rent-to-own contract with us. Housing there in the Midwest is cheap, averaging under $900 a month. We agreed, and the whole family helps us move. Our house was a mess, me not being able to bend over, our kids being young, and we have 3 dogs. I was embarrassed to say the least, but it became apparent that as soon as I was unable to work, my wife's family wanted me gone. My wife even told me that they said that she should leave me and she would be better off with a man that isn't disabled. We move and all is going well. My kids are in school and getting all the support they need, making friends and overall loving it. Our autistic son hasn't attacked anyone or bit or hit or had a freak out. Us living closer to home, with my family's support and hers, we start to recover, but with me still not being able to bend over or even sweep the floor without it feeling like my spine is going to explode, makes it so our house is still a mess. I eventually try to find another sales job working for a car dealership. I lasted 19 days before having to quit. I get recommended to see a pain doctor locally and go to see them. I get shots, have MRI scans and other stuff, and nothing works. The doctor recommended a chiropractor. Now, I had grown up believing chiropractic stuff was a scam, or better yet, as told by Penn and Teller, bullpoo. However, I go, and my god was it painful, but I noticed I could move better. The chiropractor puts me on a schedule to go times a week for 6 weeks. I never miss an appointment and see the changes take effect quickly. I can put on socks again, I can move, I can walk more than a block. Best of all, I could make love to my beautiful wife again, but I still can't to this day pick something up off the floor without laying on the floor to get it. As soon as we moved into our new house, I ask about the rent to own, and my in-law says it's a family matter and not to worry about it, that my wife has it taken care of. Turned out, it was just verbal. In-law says that they will do the normal landlord stuff and will make repairs as needed, and remove a dead tree that looked like it was going to fall on the house at any day. Time passes, and we ask about the tree and repairs, and in-law says she will get them fixed when I move out. Not we, just I move out. I'm adopted, and acceptance means a lot to me, and family is a true gift, but I had never expected this and just walked away. More time passes, and our Chihuahua Dachshund Mix has found the extra bedroom as the perfect place to poop and pee, and though we keep the door closed, he can crawl through the air vent like a supervillain in a heist, but to leave poop instead of steal the royal jewels. This goes completely unnoticed, as we don't use that room and even have a padlock on it, because we only use it as storage and haven't needed to add or retrieve anything in that room. Over the 2 years, I have gained over 150 pounds, and my wife is right in the 200-pound mark, so we start walking and trying to get in shape. My wife decided we should get a treadmill and we could turn the extra room into a gym. We find one, and in-law helps wife bring it home. Wife gives in-law the key to the padlock, and she goes into the room. Screaming and crying happens, and in-law storms out of the house. The next morning being Sunday, my wife gets a call from her mother, saying her mother was coming over to clean our house. My wife tells her no, that it was 6 a.m. and we would clean the house. We didn't know our dog was using that room as a toilet. In-law hangs up on wife and leaves my wife in tears. I call in-law and tell her no means no, to not come over without 24-hour notice or unless invited. She hangs up on me. My wife has a panic attack and goes to bed. I tell her I'll deal with it. Sure enough, a few minutes later, a loud banging on our back door. I go to the door and tell her to go away. She says this is her daughter's house and that I'm not welcome and I needed to let her in. I tell her no and tell her if she doesn't leave, I will call the cops. She replies with, she will call the cops if I don't let her in. I tell her to call them and we will see who's right. Backstory about me personally. I graduated college with a degree in criminal justice and had worked security up until I met my wife and chose to have a safer life. I studied law and kept up with law enforcement trainings and studying the law as well. I know what a landlord is and isn't allowed to do, and since she had clearly cut me away from the family, I saw no reason for exceptions to be made. She pulled out her phone, paused, and put it away. I told her to leave again, and she refused. I dialed 911. Yes, overkill when it's a small town, but I don't play games at 6 a.m. on a Sunday. I tell dispatch what's happening, and they say they will send an officer. She yells and screams, and eventually my wife comes down to face her. In-law explodes on wife for letting me call the cops and tells her a bunch of nonsense about her having to choose her or me. My wife tells her she chooses me. In-law leaves crying. I have a job interview the following day that turns into an instant job again in car sales, and I'm at the dealership until 9 p.m. that night. When I get home, I find my wife crying, eating a tub of ice cream and watching TV. I ask her what's wrong, and she explained that in-law and stepfather came over, yelled at her, and made her sign a contract for other bills her mother had helped us with in the past, raising our rent by $200 a month. No mention of me in the contract or anything. I call in-law and tell her we will not be doing that, as we are a team, and financial responsibility falls on both of us and must involve both of us. Wife also tells in-law she is siding with me again on this. The next day while I'm at work, my wife calls me crying and hysterical. She had been served at work a letter stating that as we didn't have a rental agreement, the landlord was evicting us in 30 days. Under Iowa law, if you have a month-to-month rental agreement or no agreement at all, the landlord can end it if they give 30 days notice. However, we had a rent-to-own contract, very different. I picked to stand our ground because we would win and start compiling as much evidence as I can, not only to win the case, but to seek damages for everything. My plan was to use the money from the damages to end up buying the house and totally saying blow off to the in-law. My wife tells me she doesn't want to fight and that we will move and cut ties with in-law. I tell her if she's sure, I'll go with it. We find a place in the next town over and move. Instantly, our kids have issues in school. This school was not ready for special needs kids, and overall, I would say the whole thing set our family back about another 2 years. We are stable now. I left the car dealership when COVID hit and went back to working security, so I would be an essential person and secure in pay. On top of all of this, another thing about in-law has always ticked me off. She plays the I'm a good Christian card all the time while speaking bad about minorities and homosexuality. She doesn't know that my wife and I are polyamorous, and before we had to move back home, we had a girlfriend that lived with us full-time for 3 years. When one of our friends was getting married and the wedding date also fell on a family gathering, in-law exploded on us, saying why would we go to a lesbian wedding when it means nothing to God, and asked what's wrong with people. I was about to open my mouth and spill the beans about our lifestyle when my wife gave me that look. In-law still doesn't know that her hatred of others affects us on a daily basis, and recently my wife started trying to patch up things, but I'm still treated like crap even though I'm working and supporting the family again. I really hate this woman, and wish when I caught COVID and was sick that I went over to visit her and gave her a big hug and spit right in her eye. She is truly the worst person I've ever met. Damn, OP, you really went off on them, sis. Damn. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that one today. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. Hope you guys are having a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I'll see you in the next one, and say hello to Outro Markee. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one today. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I would love you to subscribe because I love your face and I love seeing you here every single day that you are here in this video. I don't know what else to say today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the content. I do have a second channel that's called Markee 2. Link should be up on the screen somewhere here if you don't have adblock installed. If you don't know where to find the channel, you can go to my main page. Just click on the Markee face and it should be on the right somewhere there, or on channels if you're on phone. Hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.